Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name's Dick Fleming. I was a member of First Force Recon during the Vietnam War. And on this channel I've been telling my stories about my time in Vietnam. And I hope you've enjoyed them. I also wrote about them in my book, Chasing Charlie. I've told a number of the stories there, and that's available on Amazon if you'd like to read about them. Another resource is my website, firstforcerecon.com, where I have a lot of pictures from my days in the service and links to other resources within the Recon community. So I think if you're interested in this channel, you might be interested in checking out that website as well. So today I'm going to tell you a story about a case where we were on a mission and through sheer stupidity, in a way, or negligence, we lost half of our team. This is a rather difficult story for me to tell because I was friends with those guys and they were injured unnecessarily. They were severely injured unnecessarily. This is a story. We were going to go out on a typical observation post. And we were getting our gear together and ready to go out. And the sergeant told us that we'd be getting a new man into our team temporarily. And he'd be running a system patrol leader. He's another sergeant. He'd be running a system patrol leader for us. Well, we asked who it was, and we were told that it was Sergeant Buck from the supply hooch. Supply hooch. Well, we all knew Sergeant Buck because we went over there to get our gear. You know, anything from a new flak jacket to jungle boots, whatever was available. He up to that point, to the best of my knowledge, he had never gone out in the bush before. He was back in charge of the supply hooch. It was kind of a big guy. He was out of shape, obviously, because he hadn't been doing much, and he would sit behind his counter. He had a beach chair back there that he'd sit and lie on. But as the sergeant told us, he was Recon qualified. He had gone through the training course and was Recon qualified. He just never gotten a chance to go out and given the opportunity to go out in the bush. Apparently, from what we heard, I don't remember whether the sergeant told us or scuttlebutt, but he was due for a promotion. He was due for promotion to staff sergeant, and he had been in the service for quite a while, but in order to get that promotion, the major wanted to have him go out in the field. Well, didn't like that idea very much myself because he didn't look like he was in shape, and he had never been out in the field before. So he wasn't really part of our team. He hadn't trained with us, and I thought it was a foolish thing to have him go out. Dangerous for him and dangerous for our team, but I didn't have any say in the matter. So we got our gear together and went down to the LZ, and we see our new sergeant coming on down the trail toward the LZ. And he had every piece of equipment you could imagine. he had one of those giant bush hats that they used to give to the female ARVN. That looked really cool, but they were completely useless. They came out to here, and he had a Bowie knife and all kinds of extra gear on. So we looked at him. Truman made some remarks, but he got on the chopper with the rest of us, and off we went into the boonies. And we were inserted on this near this hilltop, and we made our way up, and spent a couple days without seeing anything. And then we started. We saw a team of NVA, or a group of NVA. Seemed like they were searching the area for us. They were approaching in a line, and they were looking for something, obviously. And we were observing them through our binoculars and hoping they didn't spot us. But they kept on getting closer and closer. But we decided we better do a medevac and get the hell out of there. So that's what we decided to do. Unfortunately, the area that we were in was very heavy jungle, and there was no place nearby that the chopper could get in. So we continued moving through the jungle, looking for a place we could maybe blow an LZ or something like that, and no luck. And whenever we had a chance, we'd scan behind us. We were up high. We scanned the trail behind us, or the rain behind us, and we'd see these guys following us. And the question is, well, would we call in artillery, or what could we do? And the decision was made that what we would do was get out of there first and then call in artillery. That was what our plan was. So we came to a fairly open area. There's still a high tree line, high trees, and they called in for the extraction, the helicopter extraction. And they lowered the jungle penetrator. Now, those of you who have been seeing my channel before, been on my channel before, know how much I detest the jungle penetrator. I thought it was the most useless piece of equipment that we had. But that's what they dropped. And it came down on its cable. And for those of you who don't know it, it was came down with an oversized grappling hook in a way. These fins folded up into the jungle penetrator as it descended through the trees. But then we could pull those fins out and sit on them and hold on to the cable and be pulled up through the hatch. And normally we went up through the side hatch that was attached along the side, and we could there was a lever there that would pull you into the helicopter. Theoretically, 3 people could be on this jungle penetrator at a time, but not with full gear on, not with the gear that we had, with all of our backpacks and everything like that. That didn't work. In fact, even 2 people were on it. It was unbalanced. If you had 2 people on it, it would tilt one direction or another, because it wasn't balanced. It needed 3 supports in order to balance properly. And we had tried different things. We had practiced with this thing over and over again when we first got into Vietnam. It was used extensively. And we had learned that, if you took your backpack off and you put it on that, hook the straps over the bottom there, that it worked better. And then when you got up through the hatch, you're not dealing with your backpack, and so you're a little bit more nimble. But in general, it was a terrible situation. And as I related in my other videos, we eventually went to the ladder, which was essentially a cargo net that we hooked onto, and were extracted with that cargo net. But that didn't work in all cases either, because it would get entangled in heavy brush. And eventually we went to what I'll call the rope. Well, that's what everybody called it. The rope, which was a much more elegant solution for us, much quicker solution. But in any case, this jungle penetrator came down and landed near me, and so I rushed over and I grabbed the damn thing. Could have tackled it like a greased pig. It was slithering through the jungle as the helicopter went all over the place. and I pulled the fins out, and I got on, and again I'm riding this thing as it's going through the underbrush. It was pretty bad. And Bo was near me, and when the cable tightened, he was able to get on his side. But that was all. And the jungle penetrator went up, and we didn't get the third person on, and the two of us were hanging there, kind of pushed out as our weight on that thing was unbalanced, and it started to spin. Now we had our carabiners on us, a little short line, and we hooked our carabiners onto the cable to prevent ourselves from being swept away, but swept off the damn thing. But it was going up, and instead of going through the side hatch where we had more room to work, it went through the bottom of the C-46 where there was a door. Well, the door was only about 3 feet, maybe by 3 feet, maybe. And as the cable went up through the floor there, and the crew chief had a winch on it, and I could see him. I couldn't see his eyes because they used to have that face mask, which was dark over their face, a helmet, and they were talking with the pilot. And he had his hand on the switch to control the winch, and that was pulling us up through the hatch. Well, my pack got caught on the side of the helicopter as it was going up, as we were being pulled up, and that force of that winch taking me up was pulling me back off of the helicopter, and I unclasped my carabiner because I was getting crushed by that. That force was tremendous. But the problem was that I was nearly pulled out off of the jungle penetrator, and Bo was next to me. He's a little shorter than me, so he was trying to get up through there as well. So in my book I call the chapter toothpaste, and that's exactly what it was. It was toothpaste being pulled through that chopper. I damn near got pulled right off of that thing, and unfortunately that similar situation happened to others, and I talk about that. I'll talk about that in a future video. Well, Bo and I finally got ourselves into the helicopter, and now the pilot radioed that he could see the NVA coming toward our group, and they didn't have time to get the rest of us in, the rest of the men in. It took quite a while before that general penetrator went down and people were able to get on it, and then it went up, maybe 10 minutes, quite a lot of time. And we had 6 guys down there. So the idea was they would drop the rope. And this was a new, rather new facility that we had, new idea. I think the major actually was the one who invented this idea after problems with the ladder surfaced, and we realized that we were not able to use that in all situations. So this is a diagram I wrote I drew of the ladder. Basically all it was a thick rope, and attached to the rope every 10 feet or so was a carabiner on a line, on a knotted line there. Very simple. And I think there was a weight at the bottom of the rope all the way to make it go through the jungle a little bit easier. But in order to do this, we had to have some way of couldn't hold on to the carabiner and be extracted. Our riggers made up this arrangement. It was quite elegant, actually. It worked very well. All it was a harness similar to the ones we used to jump with. We put our arms through it over here, and our legs over here, and then it would buckle in the front and buckle around our chest and then around our waist, and in the back there were straps. So basically, this material was extremely strong. It never had any worry that it was going to break. It wasn't. So this was a a piece of equipment that was developed by our riggers to uh, to to complete the idea of the rope. And each one of us on this rig here had on the rig was attached, riveted in a steel U-shaped piece of steel, and attached to that was we had like a short line of rope, maybe 4 feet, with a carabiner on it. And what we would do is we would take that rope from our gear there that they had just they gave us, and we'd clip it onto the rope, onto the carabiner of the rope, and the helicopter would come and take us off. And I'll tell you more about that training in that way in a little while, because it was a wonderful experience. It was like flying. As the helicopter took off, they went through the sky. The rope would fall back, and the men would hang from the rope. You could put your arms out, and you felt like you were Superman. It'd be the greatest arcade ride in the world. You felt like you were flying, because there was nothing above you, and you couldn't really see anything. And as you moved your arms, you could sway around on that rope. Oh God, that was anyway. So Bo and I were in the helicopter, and they sent in another helicopter, another C-46 with a rope on it, and the men down below apparently hooked onto the rope, and we watched as they were taken up. We could see them, all of the men hanging in a long string along that rope, because the helicopter, as soon as it could, it wouldn't try to pull the rope in with the guys on it. Instead, it would go to an area that they thought they could land temporarily, and then everybody would come off the rope and get in the helicopter, and then would be gone. So this is the idea of it. So Bo and I were watching, and the helicopter was going along. We saw these guys strung out beneath it. We saw the helicopter go down into a river, a very, very shallow river. And as we watched, as it was coming down, we saw all of the men fall. It looked like they were almost at the river. I don't know, maybe 20 feet above it, and all of them fell. So we had 4 men falling. We said, what in the world happened there? What in the world? What could have happened? Well, we didn't know at the time. We went. The helicopter took us back to our base camp, and what we found out later what happened is that the sergeant did not have the gear that we had, the parachute harness that we had, and he didn't have the rope. He didn't have the carabiner. Had a lot of other equipment, unnecessary equipment on him, but he didn't have that. And so what happened is he took the rope and he passed it around his body and sent it down to the next guy in line, who clipped on, next guy clipped on, and then the helicopter took off. All around him was just a loop, and it squeezed. The weight of all of those men hanging beneath him was squeezing him around the chest. And he took his Bowie knife and he as they were going down, he cut the line above his head, and everybody fell. I can only imagine the force, the pressure. That rope must have been cutting him in two. I don't know what I'd do if that was happening to me. I don't think I'd cut the rope above me, though. I'd probably cut it below me. But when he caught it, I cut it above him. And I think there was one guy above him, and then I think it was Frenchie. I'm not sure. So he was okay. And then there was the sergeant, cut the rope, Moose, two other guys, and they all fell. Some fell longer than the others. There's about 10 feet between each loop, and if they're 20 feet off the ground, the sergeant, who was at the very top, must have fallen nearly 50 feet. The next guy probably fell 40 feet, 30 feet, etc. So all of those men were taken they were actually medevaced out of country. They were taken to Japan. And I did get a letter from Moose a few weeks later, and he said, "I'm doing all right. My back's broken in 3 places, but I'm doing all right." And he mentioned the other guys. He said are in the hospital here too with me, but I haven't seen them. And that was the letter that I received. No, I blame the major above all. I don't blame the sergeant. He didn't have the training. He shouldn't have been there. He didn't have the training. He was ill-equipped. But I can't blame him. The person responsible for that was the major. You know, he made a decision to put that man in danger and the rest of our team in danger for what? So that he could say that this guy, in order to make staff sergeant, had completed a mission. What the hell is all that about, right? To some extent, the sergeant, our sergeant, also should have complained. You know, should have said, "We can't take this guy with us. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't have the experience. He's not in shape." All of this stuff. But it's difficult for an enlisted man to question a major. You know, I mean, that takes a lot of guts. If I was in his position, I probably would have done it. I probably would have said something, but he didn't. And 3 men were seriously injured. They could have been killed. All of them could have been killed. The helicopter had come down not come down, you know, another 20 feet or something like that. I'm sure all of those guys would have been killed. But and they also landed in relatively soft mud of the river there. So they were able to get out right away. The helicopter was right there, and to get them out. And I heard back later from one of the men on the helicopter, one of the crew chiefs on the helicopter, who had been there, and he said that rope was embedded so much in that sergeant's body that he couldn't get his knife between the muscle and the fat of it without cutting the sergeant, the supply sergeant. It had literally nearly cut him in half. And I don't know what happened to him. I never heard anything more. But that's my story. And that was Vietnam, 1968. I hope you like my tale. If you do, subscribe to the video, and give me a thumbs up. Thank you.